Auburn Blitz is now on the air, your daily look into what's happening in Auburn athletics. With your host, Andy Graham, Brett Pritchard, Randy Lee, War Eagle.
Hello, everybody, and welcome into the New Year's Eve edition of the Auburn Blitz. Brett Pritchard and Randy Lee here with you for your lunch hour, and we're glad that you've joined us, all of you out there that might be working today on New Year's Eve, or those of you that are just hanging out waiting on a big-time party tonight, whatever you might be doing. Glad that you joined us. This time tomorrow, Auburn and Minnesota on the field in Tampa to take on the Outback Bowl, to participate in the Outback Bowl. And it should be a good game because you look at Minnesota and their record, and you look at what Auburn's been able to do. Looking forward to a big matchup, but this time tomorrow we will be watching Auburn versus Minnesota. Randy, good to see you. Happy New Year's Eve to you out there. Want to remind everybody to be safe out there tonight, and that's the most important thing. But a lot to talk about on the show today as we're going to concentrate on the Outback Bowl, and we'll talk about some of the other bowl games, some that were on last night, some that'll be on today. Kentucky underway right now, getting beat by Virginia Tech in the Belt Bowl.
Well, I must start with that massacre that LSU put on Oklahoma and get your thoughts on that, Brett. You know, the first thing as an Auburn fan that I leave watching that game, how in the world did we go on the road and hold that team to 23 points?
Maybe the best performance we had all year.
It really was. And if you put some offense on the field and you put some more points on the board before late in the ball game, same as the Georgia game, you're sitting there going, golly, this is a championship caliber team. But the more that we move through this bowl season, you see Florida win last night and you see LSU dominate. Still an upsetting loss to Georgia, and that's a little bit of a head scratcher. But nonetheless, this was a season, if we can cap it off with 10 wins and a win over a very game Minnesota team that's coached extremely well, that I'll look back on as a really a positive memory.
You know, the only game that I'll look back on now, you know, we can look back and see the results is the one I'm disappointed in. I mean, obviously you're disappointed when you lose, but I'm disappointed in our effort against Georgia. You know, again, the mystery of why we just play so bad against them. And Georgia's not a very good team this year. I mean, I know their record's good, but offensively they struggled all year long. They lost to a bad South Carolina team at home. The Florida game, I was at that game. That fan base was on. That's probably the biggest game in the Swamp in 10 years, and you knew it was. And we had the cards stacked against us, and we had plays to make there, but you had a freshman quarterback on the road for the first time. So I understand not hitting on all cylinders. And, of course, LSU, we were disappointed in losing that game by 3, but played outstanding. Probably, like I said, the best performance when you look back. But that Georgia game, man, to be down 21-0 going into the fourth quarter is just that's the one game that you go, man, what the heck happened? What went wrong there? I mean, our defense got beat in a couple of plays. But that's the only one I wish we had a chance to get back.
I totally agree. The Saturday night, as I'm watching, and you see all of the talk around 20 miles from each other, Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields, and how they were not necessarily, the best of friends during high school, but they came up around the same time, in the same era, and competed in the same events. It wasn't a knock that they disliked one another, but I'm sitting there, and as they're saying, I go, God, there's got to be a set of Georgia fans that are sitting over there going, I'm about to puke myself on how this season and how all of this has worked out, because you had Justin Fields. And, Brett, that was a bad throw that he made and a wonderful play by Noah Turner to make up for the same pretty much pass play that he got caught up in man coverage with a slot receiver on the previous possession. So great play by Turner, and that was great for him and for the state of Alabama and Vestavia Hills High School and Kevin Turner fans out there all over. It was really cool to see that. But Justin Fields is a dude. Oh, man, he played wonderful football, and he does so many great things out there on the field. And so I'm sitting there going, golly, they had an opportunity on both of those guys, both generational talents, I would say, for the programs that they're going to play for, and they didn't end up with either one of them.
Had one and let him get away.
Yeah.
You know, Jake Fromm, he did that to Jacob Eason. You know, Jacob Eason was the starter, got hurt. Fromm comes in. Easton can't ever get back on the field. He transfers to Washington, finishes his career. He'll go on to the NFL draft. He went ahead and let everybody know he'll forego his last year at Washington. He's going on into the NFL draft. Probably should. Big kid. He's got a future there, I think. But Jake Fromm comes in and does nothing but win football games, takes them to a national championship game. How do you bench that guy? That's the thing that's crazy. I'm with you. I mean, Georgia fans got to be like, man, we had that guy. That'd be like Florida looking at Cam Newton. Florida fans look at Cam Newton and go, man, we had Cam Newton.
Yeah.
We had Tim Tebow, and then we could have had Cam Newton. Well, I also look at it like we were in the running for Russell Wilson and lost out to Wisconsin, and we didn't even offer Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson wanted to come to Auburn. Didn't even give him an offer. So we all have those stories, but Justin Fields, I mean, at the time, how do you bench Jake Fromm? I don't know. It's just that's a good problem to have, I guess.
Here's the way that I looked at it on Saturday night. As I watched Jalen Hurts, who didn't play poorly, but he played.
He did his part.
He played like the Jalen Hurts that I have in my mental. Mm-hmm. That guy is not Tua.
Oh no.
That guy is not Justin Fields. That guy is not Trevor Lawrence. He doesn't wow me with his abilities on the field to throw the football around.
That's right.
He's a good system quarterback. He's a great college quarterback. So my answer to you is that. Yeah, you can look at records, but you have to at some point determine the same as Clemson did, who's going for their back-to-back national championship.
Kelly Bryant.
They got Kelly Bryant, and he was a great quarterback with a great record, but he wasn't going to get them to the next level. Mm-hmm. And as I'm watching on Saturday night, I'm going, any Alabama fans that want to sit around and wonder why Jalen Hurts didn't end up with that job and where would they be if he would have gotten that job, I tell you where they'd be. They'd be getting run out of the gym with him as quarterback, the same way as, and then you think back of the way Tua, who's out there gimpy on one darn leg, puts on a show against that same LSU team.
I know.
There's just some thoughts that are going through as you're an SEC fan and a state of the Alabama fan overall. I'm not an Alabama football fan by no stretch of the imagination, but I am one to kind of watch, and we talk more about this than anything else, and see the way that our two teams matched up with that LSU team. I don't know that anybody else is going to come as close.
They're not. I don't think so either. It's actually the matchup predictor on ESPN has it favored for Clemson against this LSU team, but the point spread's in favor of LSU. They're favored by 3 in this game. So we'll talk about that a little bit more. But one last thought on Jake Fromm. The only difference there is I'm with you. I would have, you line those two guys up and what Justin Fields can do for you athletically versus Jake Fromm, it's totally different. But Jake Fromm did get them to a national championship game, and they were, outside of Tua making that throw, had it won. They had the game won. So that's what Kirby Smart was facing. I'm not a big Kirby Smart fan, you know that, but that's what he was faced with. So it was one of them dang if you do, dang if you don't deals. But going into the next season, you see Felipe Franks leaving Florida to go somewhere else coming up. And he went to Dan Mullen and said, I want to be the starter at Florida. And Dan Mullen said, man, I can't promise that you will be the starter with Trask and the other guy that's playing for Florida right now, those two. He said, I can't promise you that. So Justin Fields said, okay, fair enough. I'm just going to go ahead, finish out the season. I got hurt, stay here, and I'm going to go play somewhere else. That was the intention of the transfer portal. And it works for some people. That's what I think that, Georgia probably, or Kirby Smart probably should have done. He should have said, look, Jake, we appreciate it, man, but get the #1 recruit in the country. Y'all are going to have to compete for this job next year. I can't guarantee you'll be the starter. Maybe he beat him out. I don't know, but I don't think he did. I think Justin Fields saw the handwriting on the wall that Kirby Smart had committed to Jake Fromm, and he said, look, I'm just going to go somewhere else.
Best college football team, if they close this out, that you've ever seen in LSU?
They're one of the closest.
Who's close?
There's some Alabama teams that Nick Saban's had that, and here's the crazy thing: LSU's made this run, and Nick Saban hadn't had very many undefeated seasons.
Yeah.
So when you got to take that into effect, it's got to be up there, man. The LSU, if they finish this deal as dominant as they have been, they've only had one close game. Well, they have two: Auburn and the Alabama game. Both were close. Both were different styles. Low scoring for Auburn, high scoring for the Alabama game. But finding ways to win, but dominating, scoring that many points on people. been that much better than everybody.
You know, there's only a couple of teams in my lifetime that I can look back and say that
A Nebraska team.
that Nebraska team that beat Florida by, I mean, just stole something.
They're one of the ones.
They're one of the ones, but I can't remember any others really during that
Any of
stretch.
those Miami teams that jump out to you that were just?
I'm sure that we could look at some stats and we can see some point differentials and say that they should and they deserve to be, and then you can really go back and look and see at what some of those guys did when they made it to the NFL, and you see the caliber of player they had and the recruiting that was being done at Miami.
I think
during
our
that
lifetime.
stretch.
I think our lifetime it's got to be Nebraska or this LSU team.
And you may throw one of those, but this is the best quarterbacking play that I think I can ever remember. I know Cam Newton will be thrown into the mix, and a Tim Tebow season will also be thrown into the mix, but Brett, he's on a different level. Ooh, this guy is making mincemeat of these other teams.
So calm, too, back there.
Well, he's got a demeanor about him where he's going to be in total shock if he makes a mistake. And the rest of the country is going to be in total shock if he makes a mistake. And I didn't see that at all coming last year. It tells you what development can do for a guy.
It does. It does. We got some good comments coming in. When we come back from this break coming up, we'll talk about those comments. Some of you are weighing in. Who's the most dominant college football team you've ever watched, you've ever seen in your lifetime? We'd love to hear some of you already making some comments on there, and we'll talk about those when we come back from break. But we're just getting started. Russell Do It Center and Building Supply Stores and Mortgage Pro, the Eric McKinley team, our two corporate partners here on the program. We couldn't do it without them. Just great organizations all the way around. If you're looking to refinance your home, Mortgage Pro is the place to go. If you're looking for home improvement or you're going to build a new house, Russell Do It Center and Building Supply Stores are the place to be. One of 10 locations throughout Central Alabama. Up against our first break. Stay tuned. More of the Auburn Blitz New Year's Eve edition coming your way right after this.
The Prestige Selection at Gill's Auto Sales in Opelika has the largest selection of prestige cars, trucks, and SUVs in Central and East Alabama, all with financing available, little to no money down, and extended warranties. Get pre-qualified in under 2 minutes, online or from your mobile device at GillsPrestigeOnline.com. It's the Prestige Selection at Gill's Auto Sales, 1430 Gateway Drive in Opelika.
A&M Plumbing, A&M Plumbing, service at its best when you need it most.
From the smallest drippy faucet to drain cleaning to water heater replacement to gas lines to total systems replacement, A&M Plumbing handles it all. Visit amplumbing.net today for the experienced, licensed, and insured pros at A&M Plumbing.
A&M Plumbing, A&M Plumbing, service at its best when you need it most.
Hidley Towers is an affordable senior citizen community located in Alexander City on Highway 22 East, where spacious one-bedrooms are available now. Great location, peaceful setting, comfortable living, where pets are allowed and utilities are included. Call today to find out more about Alexander City's best-kept secret, 256-329-0552, for your family at Hidley Towers. That's 256-329-0552.
WOTM, your new home for high school sports in Alabama. WOTM has you covered with live coverage of all 7 championship games of the Super 7. WOTM is available to all TV providers in Alabama. If WOTM is not currently a part of your channel lineup, call your provider and request that they add WOTM. WOTM, your exclusive TV home for the AHSAA Super 7 basketball, baseball, and softball championships. All live only on WOTM.
Alex City Marines, located on Cherokee Road in Alexander City, and the Yerkes invite you by to see what they have available today. The 2020 Manitous and Landaus are in, and boy, are they gorgeous. Also, some great deals on demos. Take advantage of that while they last. Alex City Marine also is doing shrink wrapping, storage. Get in line now. In fact, call this number, 256-215-FISH. Alex City Marine, Alex City.
Finding a job might be tough, but starting your new career has never been easier. Wellborn Cabinet in Ashland has a wide array of career opportunities with benefits. General labor production, skilled cabinet builders, product assembly line, shipping, over-the-road truck drivers, clerical, marketing, security, daycare, office clerks, and so much more. Apply in person, 38669 Highway 77 South in Ashland, or online at wellborn.com. Building cabinets, building careers, and building our community.
Heritage South Credit Union in Alexander City is your community credit union, and they have been for over 80 years. Heritage South Credit Union proudly serves Tallapoosa, Coosa, Lee, Chambers, Randolph, and Chilton counties. From checking to business accounts, to share savings to club accounts, to their kids club and investments. Visit them online at myhscu.com. Heritage South Credit Union, your community credit union for 80 years. Federally insured by NCUA.
Hi, this is Brian Bice with Bice Motors. With our all-star lineup of Dodge trucks, Jeep, SUVs, and Chrysler cars, we offer the area a team dedicated to making your next vehicle purchase a positive experience. Our sales team offers competitive pricing, and we back up all sales with a service department second to none. Bice Motors also offers the area's best selection of pre-owned vehicles. Visit Bice Motors at 2133 Cherokee Road in Alexander City.
Guaranteed lowest price. Buy it at Bice Motors.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Auburn Blitz, brought to you by Russell Do It Center and Building Supply Stores and Mortgage Pro there at McKinley. Team, some good comments coming in. We'll get to those right now. Best, most dominating, I guess would be the right term to use, college football team you've ever seen. We hit on two of them. When I found the Bleacher Report's recent, I guess, poll or breakdown of the most dominant college football teams of all time, and you guys are spot on here. We'll read some of these. Steven said, make you say to yourself, did Gus really know what he was doing, not putting Gatewood in the game more when you see Jalen at Oklahoma and two at Alabama? Maybe he knew what he was doing there. Maybe we didn't give him enough credit. That's a good point. Andy said LSU's team, best offense ever, not the best team ever.
Well, you know, as you go through, and I'll let you run these down, the first SEC squad that you're going to see pop up on this list is the 61 Alabama team.
That's right.
And defensively, they were unreal. I think Leroy Jordan was heading that team off. I think they won the bowl game where they had already won the national championship but still won the bowl game, and he had about 30 tackles in that football game. He ends up going off and having a great NFL career. But the rest of these teams are going to be some of those Nebraska teams.
Yep.
You've got a Miami team also mixed in with a ton of talent on that one, but there's not a lot of SEC squads. So I'll say this, though, Andy. When you play in the SEC, it's hard to get a top-notch team that's going to end up on a list like this.
Because of the competition.
The competition's just brutal, man. I mean, when you have a wonderful team like Auburn did in 2010, it's just hard to get through the grind
you make it
that
through
is the SEC.
Well, and Nick Saban's proved that, all the great teams he's had, and can't go undefeated most years.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to have a slip-up. A couple more comments, and we'll get to that list. Patrick said that Miami team, he was referring to the 0-1 team, was unstoppable. He also referenced the 0-4 USC team. Patrick's spot on with these teams. You'll see here in just a minute. Steven said that Miami team, referring to that 0-1 team. Andy comes back with a 95 Nebraska team, Miami 0-1, and Clemson 18, all pretty doggone good. All good teams. Now let's go to the Bleacher Report, and let's run those down. I'll start at number 10. I won't go through the whole list. They got the top 25 teams of all time on here, but I'll start with number 10, and it was that 0-4 USC team. A very good team. Ended up having to forfeit that season because of all the mess that went on with Reggie Bush and all that, but that team was loaded top to bottom. Auburn was on the outside looking in. That year, the Auburn finished off an undefeated season in 0-4, went on to play Virginia Tech in the Sugar Bowl, but Oklahoma got run out of the stadium by that USC team.
You know, we'll always be able to sit here as Auburn fans and say what if, but, you know, during that Tommy Tuberville era, and especially that year with the amount of talent that he had accumulated. On the offensive side of the ball with Al Borges, we'll always go what if, because I do think that team was going to be able to play up to competition, and that would have been the best competition. We were now, from time to time, we'd play down to competition, and we'd let an Alabama team that didn't deserve to be on the field with us hang in there for 2 or 3 quarters. But that team, I always will say that if they would have matched up with that USC team from a talent standpoint,
been a pretty good game.
It'd have been a pretty good one. It would have been fun to watch.
Well, so many like you said, so much NFL talent on both teams, it would have probably equaled its way out. Number 9 on the list is the '94 Penn State Nittany Lions team. Quite possibly the best team not to win a championship is what it said on here. So that team gets in the top 10. Had Kajana Carter and Kerry Collins and all that group. Remember, Bobby Ingram was on that team, wide receiver. Good team there. It says after finishing a perfect season at the Rose Bowl, 38-20 over 12th ranked Oregon, the Lions fell short of a national championship, which was instead awarded to Nebraska. That was back in the day where, man, it was all based on what the AP writers and stuff. That's kind of stinks a little bit when you have a team that lays it out on the field. They just didn't have the system in place to account for that.
Well, they better be happy they didn't, because if they'd have played that '94 Nebraska team that year, I know it just happens to be that you had 2 of the top 10 teams in the same season, but if they'd have played that '94 Nebraska team, they'd have got beaten like somebody stole something.
And we're about to get to that '94 Nebraska team here in a minute and talk about how bad they did beat people. Number 8 on the list is that '61 Alabama team. Only allowed 25 total points the whole season. Did I read that right?
You read it right.
Just beat Arkansas in the Sugar Bowl, finished off an 11-0 season, one of Bear Bryant's best seasons at Alabama.
His first championship there at Alabama.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Number 7, the '56 Oklahoma Sooners team. Bud Wilkinson's was the coach there. 47-game winning streak for that Oklahoma team. Had a versatile tailback, and Tommy McDonald kind of did everything. Just a very good team. Another one of those tough teams back in the '50s. Number 6 on here, I'd probably argue with this one a little bit, but I mean, they probably deserve to be up there in the talk. Is that '05 Texas team, led by Vince Young? Maybe one of the best national championship games of all time. USC had I think a 12 to 14-point lead a couple times in that game, and Texas came back and won that game in the Rose Bowl, capped off a 13-0 season. They did outscore their opponent 653 to 213. Randy, I didn't know it was that much.
And Vince Young does not win the Heisman, but ends up walking off with the national championship trophy, and Reggie Bush ends up winning the Heisman that year, and now I guess it's just null and void.
Yeah, that's not
nowhere to be seen. You'd have to kind of know that to know it.
That's exactly right. Number 5 on the list is the '45 Black Army Knights. 2 Heisman winners in the backfield for this Army team. Doc Blanchard and Glenn Davis. One won it in '45, and the other one won it in '46 there for that team. But they played Navy for the national championship that year in front of 102,000 people. Now, you got to remember, that's back in 1945, and they played in front of 102,000 people, and they beat them 9-0. So that's pretty good history there.
Yeah, and that's back when Navy and Army were 2 of the top programs in the country year in and year out. And young men that came out of high school, if they had their choosing, they were wanting to go to one of those 2 schools, and it paid off for them when they end up with when you got 2 Heismans in the same backfield, you're in pretty good shape.
Good Lord. It never has happened before. Up against our next break, we'll come back. We'll run down the top 4 most dominating college football teams of all time. Stay tuned. More of the Auburn Blitz right after this.
At Mortgage Pro, we won't be able to finance a new car or new boat. We can't open you a checking account. Mortgage Pro specializes in mortgage loans. If you're looking to purchase a new home or refinance your current home, the only way to go is Mortgage Pro. We can close in 15 days or less. We can offer the best rates in the mortgage industry, and we can waive appraisal fees on any new loan from September 1st until December 31st. Call Mortgage Pro today.
Hey Realtors, do you know about LMG Ad Agency? We build your brand and help sell your properties or a unique lifestyle so you can focus on your clients. We focus on professional photos, videos, aerial photography and videography, and commercial real estate. We'd love to tell your story. Contact us today at 256-392-4250 or visit our website at lmgadagency.com.
Growing your business isn't just one thing, it's a million little things. Should you lease, rent, or own? How fast can you get that part? Does it fit the budget? That's what your local Cat dealer is here for. With expert advice, flexible financing, and industry-leading equipment, you can get the job done, day after day. Visit ThompsonCat.com, your compact equipment provider.
I am Lisa McClendon from Country Financial, and I have spent years in our community helping people protect their homes, cars, and lives. I am proud to be a member of the 2018 National Championship Team and a National Advisory Council member for Country Financial. Complete financial security does not end with just insurance. I am also here to help you plan for your financial future.
Together, we can help you set up a step-by-step plan to reach financial security.
Let's talk soon.
Lex Wedgeworth has been the most trusted pest control for generations, and now with EnviroCare, you can expect the same high standards for all your pest control needs. EnviroCare's exclusive Centricon termite colony elimination system provides the industry standard to protect your home or business. EnviroCare's Centricon system protects your home year-round. Call the professionals at EnviroCare throughout East Central Alabama for a free estimate. Nobody cares like EnviroCare, the next generation of full pest control for your home or business.
So, you may not know it, but you've seen our work everywhere. For a combined 50 years, SignSource has been Central Alabama's premier option for all your sign needs. Custom signs for your business, club, or organization. Wraps and decals for your vehicle or boat. Full-color banners for your big sale, or a photo collage on canvas for grandma. All with fast, friendly, prompt service. Check out our website at signsourcenow.com. 888-533-6758. Go straight to the source. SignSource.
Find everything you need for the perfect outdoor living space at Russell Do It Center, like the Fire Rock Outdoor Conventional Fireplace, smartly designed masonry systems that are easy to install and are less than half the cost of a scratch-built brick and mortar fireplace. Weber Grills, the best outdoor gas, electric, and charcoal grills, which always come pre-assembled. Yeti Coolers, premium coolers and accessories that are the ultimate in design, performance, and durability. Russell Do It Center, experience and knowledge from the pros.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Auburn Blitz. Halfway through the program here on New Year's Eve, and running down the top 10 most dominating college football teams of all time. And again, don't really know when Bleacher Report put this out, but nobody's arguing with these top four. Now, there may be some that have a chance. Some of those Alabama teams, you could argue for Nick Saban to belong maybe somewhere in this list, definitely in the top 25. Clemson's team last year obviously made a push for that, the way they finished off Alabama in that national championship game. But the number 4 team all-time is the 71 Nebraska Cornhuskers. Dominant defense, once again, held opponents to 8.2 points per game while averaging right at 40 points per contest. I mean, just no, it's not even close.
Well, and, you know, I watched
Johnny Rogers on that team.
Yeah, I got caught up a couple of weeks ago randomly watching Auburn's 71 team play that Oklahoma team that barely lost to Nebraska.
Lost them 35-31 to Nebraska.
And that Oklahoma team was like men amongst boys against Auburn that year. They had us beaten like we had I mean, flat stolen something in the first half. And they end up winning 40-22, but it was a lot worse than that.
Yeah,
that was a great, great Oklahoma team that lost to that Nebraska team.
35-31.
You know how many yards rushing per game that Oklahoma team averaged that year?
I don't know.
530-something.
What do you mean?
I remember hearing that stat. I said, well, do what?
Average.
Average rushing yards per game.
500 and something.
Yeah.
There's been some dominating teams. Like I said, nobody's arguing with these teams. So you're going to have to do something just ridiculously spectacular to break this top 5. Number 3, the 0-1 Miami Hurricanes. A lot of you out there have been commenting on Facebook. Several of you listed this team as your top one. Maybe in your lifetime it will rank number 1 for you. The 0-1 Miami Hurricanes, 34 points. You know what that means? That's the average margin of victory for that 0-1 Miami team. Ken Dorsey on that team. Shockey was the tight end on that team. Who else was Clinton Portis was the running back on that team. They beat Nebraska 37-14 in the Rose Bowl, capped off an undefeated season. Just another loaded team there, but number 3 according to Bleacher Report.
I remember it, and the NFL remembers it as well. That means players coming off of that team and playing in the pros.
Number 2, USC, not South Carolina, by the way. 72 Southern Cal team. Just Sam Cunningham back there in the backfield at fullback. They beat Ohio State by 25 in the Rose Bowl that year to cap off a 12-0 season. They beat 6 ranked teams that season, and the margin of victory was huge against those 6 ranked teams. So a dominating team comes in at number 2 in Southern Cal.
I can't remember that, but I do know enough about Sam Bam Cunningham to know that he came into Birmingham and he really changed the tide of this state and the Southeastern Conference as a whole, as he came in and ran roughshod over Alabama and had about 140 yards rushing. And shortly after that, Paul Bryant decides that he's going to go and fight, which he already wanted to do. There's some great storyline behind that, but able to point and say, look, we're going to continue to get run out of the gym if we don't start bringing in African-American players and putting them on our SEC squad. And shortly thereafter, all of us finally had them. And it's a lot of the story is around Sam Bam Cunningham and what he did in Birmingham that night.
That's good stuff right there. The number 1 team of all time, they're that Nebraska team that all of you have mentioned, the 94 Nebraska Cornhuskers. Tom Osborne will read the synopsis here. Tom Osborne's team scored 50-plus points every single game. Had a great defense, only allowed 14 points per game. Amon Green was the headliner there. Obviously, it played that Steve Spurrier-led Florida team in the Fiesta Bowl and beat them 62-24. I'll never forget Tommy Frazier looking like he was tackled, and all of a sudden Florida just gave up and he just kept running. I mean, just a beatdown of a very good Florida team, by the way, back in those days, and just made them look dumb. And so that's the number 1 ranked, most dominating team of all time in college football history, which is saying something.
Well, and I think that Florida comes back off of that loss and wins the national championship the following year, and they beat Florida State in a
shootout in the Sugar Bowl.
It was the second game of the year for those two.
Florida State
had won the first, and they beat them like they stole something. Actually put Werfel back there in the backfield and put him in the shotgun for the first time, I think, in the Spurrier era. And
who were the 2 receivers? Rydell Anthony and the other one. They had 3. Was Jaquez Green on that team?
Ike Hilliard.
Ike Hilliard was it. Ike Hilliard and Rydell
Green
Anthony.
was very young on that team, yes.
Yeah, so they continued. I know Jaquez Green was on that 97 Florida team that came to Auburn and beat Auburn. That Auburn team went on to play for the SEC championship game in the SEC championship game that year. But that's your top 10 of all time.
But the last 2 teams, if LSU finishes this thing off and wins a national championship this year, the Clemson squad from last year and this LSU squad will be in a lot of those top 10 rankings in the coming years. I think, it's crazy that we don't look at teams within our generation as being all-time great teams. It's odd how we don't do that, but we don't. Mentally we
well,
just.
Well, in the moment you don't think of all-time great.
That's true. Yeah.
Because it's here in the now. But the further you get away, the further you see those Alabama teams, the 08, 09 Alabama teams, and then the Auburn team in 2010. While you're watching it, you just appreciate it. And then the further away, you have something to judge it against, I guess. Number 11, I'll mention that because it's another Alabama team. That 92 Alabama team was dominating. They did it by defense. They only allowed 9.2 points per contest in there, and they beat Miami. In that Sugar Bowl, Miami was highly touted going into that game. Gino Torretta and, the bad boys from Miami, and Antonio Langham makes that play that's been painted and forever instilled in history. Just running.
That's George Teague.
George Teague, excuse me, not Langham, but Teague runs him down and just steals the ball from him.
David Palmer with that punt return, and those two great backs that Alabama had during that stretch. And Jay Barker, I think, had to complete about a grand total of 3 or 4 passes in the entire ball game.
Those numbers are astonishing to see.
Well, that was that Oklahoma number that I was giving you back in '71 that I was taken back by when I heard. But, Brett, they didn't throw it any.
Yeah, well, obviously not.
Mildren, who's a quarterback, who I think Oklahoma, Jalen Hurts just broke his single season rushing mark, total yards. Hurts ended up with about 1,300 yards rushing. He had to break it within 20 yards, and that was that quarterback that year. But he didn't throw it any. 0. That's like two times.
They didn't throw the ball a lot back in those days.
No, they didn't have
got it done on the ground. Up against another break. Stay tuned. More of the Auburn Blitz right after this.
Hi, I'm Kurt Bowman, General Manager of Vaden Toyota of Sylacauga.
And I'm Coco. Do you owe more on your vehicle than it's worth? Are you stuck with high interest rates? We may be able to help.
If you've made your last 12 consecutive payments on time and would like to get a new vehicle for the same or close to the same payment and save thousands of dollars in interest, you may qualify.
So come by and see us and let us show you the Vaden way.
Vaden Toyota of Sylacauga, located on Highway 280 in Sylacauga.
Be the hostess with the mostest this holiday season at Chicken Salad Chick with our easy party catering. Need a quick appetizer? Stop by Chicken Salad Chick and grab a quick chick of any chicken salad flavor or the pimento cheese ball covered with crushed pecans and crispy bacon. Remember, no meal is complete without a sweet treat. For a limited time, our pumpkin cheesecake is back and it's delicious. Chicken Salad Chick can feed any holiday crowd with our custom fit catering. 12 flavors of chicken salad, there's sure to be something for every taste bud.
Tires are important, and when getting a great price on tires, you want to get it right. So make the short drive to Wright's Tire in Sylacauga. Wright's Tire can get you any make or model of tire, and they make the drive worth it with volume pricing. Whether North Tallapoosa, South Talladega, or Coosa County, make the right choice, the right selection, the right service, and the right price. All at Wright's Tire on Fort William Street in Sylacauga. Call for a free quote, 256-245-7778, and get the right price on tires.
At C&T Electric, our clients are our priority. For the safety and security of your family and home, our technicians are professionally trained, drug tested, background checked, and wear uniforms with name tags. We're proud to have served the Elk City, Dadeville, and Lake Martin areas for the past 10 years. Give us a call at 256-234-0007 for all your electrical service and repair needs, or visit us on the web at www.cntelectricllc.com and spell out the word "and."
Since the dawn of time, mankind has needed tools. But not all tools are created equal. AGF Machine Rental Sales and Service has tools for all commercial construction or big residential projects. AGF Machinery offers the most durable and hardworking brands of ASV, Skyjack, and Wacker Neuson. Aerial lifts, scissor lifts, loaders, excavators, and forest equipment on demand for the best possible price. And backed by the Southeast's best team of professionals. Visit any of our strategic locations across Alabama for all your equipment needs. Or online at agfmachinery.com.
Expect it or not, the loss of a loved one is difficult. Put your family first by planning ahead. This is Joseph Dean, new owner of Alabama Funeral Homes and Cremation Centers. We are a full-service funeral home with an on-site crematory and cemetery. Whether your need is immediate or you would like to plan in advance, our experienced, compassionate staff can assist you in designing an enduring memorial experience, burial, or cremation. Alabama Funeral Homes and Cremation Centers on Highway 280 in Camp Hill or online, alabamafuneralhomes.com.
Harbor Point Ship Store has everything to make your day on the lake more enjoyable. Come on out to the biggest marina on the water. They have pizza, hot dogs, burgers, and more. Get your gas, groceries, snacks, ice, and everything you need for a fun day on the lake. Are you in the market for a new or pre-owned boat? Harbor Point has the best selection around of everyone's favorite Crest pontoons and Four Winds boats. Harbor Point also has a great selection of pre-owned boats. Come on out and take a look at Harbor Point, Marina Point Road in Dayville. Get to the point.
You already know the power and reliability of a Mahindra tractor. Get ready to meet their ATV and UTV lines. Haul more and tow more. Do more. Reaching speeds up to 60 miles an hour. Models have a 12-inch ground clearance and the ability to haul up to 1,200 pounds. There's a Mahindra utility vehicle and a model specifically to get the job done. Test drive today at Lake Martin Tractor and Outdoor. Serving Tallapoosa, Coosa, Clay, and Talladega counties. 256-392-3613.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Auburn Blitz here on the New Year's Eve edition. Only 2 more segments left in the show. SEC Bowl action underway right now. Kentucky losing at halftime to Virginia Tech 17-14. Texas A&M defeated Oklahoma State a few days ago 24-21. Last night the SEC split. Florida gets a win over Virginia. It's a little bit tougher than I think they probably expected. They won the game, though, 36-28. Mississippi State loses to Louisville 38-28. That Louisville team only won 2 games last year, and they come back and win 8 this year. Beat a Mississippi State team that they got down 14-0 to last night and came back and reeled off 24 unanswered to take the lead and end up winning 38-28.
Well, a great play and a great job by their quarterback, who is a Park Crossing product here in the state of Alabama, and you and I were able to send some guys over and do some interviews with that young man, and it's always great to see high school players from this state move on, whether it be at Auburn or Alabama and some of our interstate schools, or if they move on to Louisville and have a great outing like they did right there. So that was a key, and I saw him holding up those trophies.
He did.
And,
Isn't that nice?
So that's great.
And obviously LSU with a dominating performance in the college football playoff game over Oklahoma, 63-28. Joe Burrow with 8 total touchdowns through 3 quarters. Man, they could have scored 80-something points against Oklahoma. Let's be realistic about it. They were on the 25-yard line going in, kneeling on the ball to score again, but 8 touchdowns. 8 touchdowns in 3 quarters in a college football playoff game. Oklahoma played Georgia close in that one playoff game, but the other 3, Randy, they've been just blown out. I mean, it just ain't even been close.
Well, it's getting to a point also that with Lincoln Riley as the head coach, that yes, would a lot of Dallas Cowboy fans, would they like to see him as their next head coach? Yeah, I'm sure they would. But Brett, when you play defense the way that this guy is putting out there,
they don't play
and
defense.
He's the head coach.
He's
the one that has the option to go out there and hire him another coordinator if it doesn't work out. And they just are not competitive at all. Schemes aren't competitive. And that they did Saturday night was flat pitiful. They knew that they were outmatched in the secondary, but instead of making some wholesale changes to get them out of man coverage, which they could not man up, that was like men amongst boys.
It was.
And he never changed it. I kept seeing slots end up in man coverage with a safety. It was like taking candy from a baby.
Stephen A. Smith said it best yesterday. He said, I'm tired of hearing all the Lincoln Riley to the NFL talk. He said, brother, you need to figure out how to win in college.
Oh.
He said, and I agree with him. You know, you get drummed to the level he's been drummed, and you totally ignore one side of the ball like he has. Yeah, he's an offensive guru, but you ain't gonna outscore everybody all the time. And when you come up against a team like LSU, who doesn't have the best defense, by the way, I second what Andy said. This is a good LSU defense, but not one of the great ones like we've seen in the past. They give up points, man. And Oklahoma just could not even come up with a stop, even somewhat semblance of a stop. at some point in time, you lose credence with the college football playoff committee. You start winning 11, 12 games in the regular season and winning your thing, they start going, well, we've seen this story before. We're not putting you back in there.
Well, it's another key to this football game tomorrow for Auburn.
Yeah.
Is you need the storyline going into next year to be positive. You need the storyline to be, which, the last ranking that I saw had Auburn with the second highest ranked opposition of the year, and Minnesota's strength of schedule.
Yeah.
Auburn ended up 2, Minnesota 98th in the country. Well, that has to play out on the field.
It does.
And I'm hoping that it does play out tomorrow, and I think that it will.
Yeah, it is. And let's talk about that. We've talked about it several times, but if you look at Minnesota's schedule, they did go 10-2, but they lost 2 out of their last 3 games. Happened to be 2 of the best teams that they played all year. Yeah, they did beat Penn State 31-26 in a really good game. Obviously, Penn State's proven to be a good football team, but they lose to Iowa 23-19 at Iowa, and then they lose at home pretty handily to Wisconsin 38-17. And then, of course, you saw Wisconsin go on and play for the Big Ten championship and get drummed after jumping out to a good start against Ohio State. They showed the separation of how far Ohio State is above everybody else in that conference, and they really only played one half of football there. But if you look at the other teams they played, early in the season, they struggled with South Dakota State. Won that game 28-21. They beat Fresno State in double overtime, 38-35. They beat Georgia Southern, who finished the season 7-6, 35-32. They squeaked out a win against a 4-8 Purdue team, 38-31. They beat Illinois pretty handily. They beat Nebraska pretty handily, but Nebraska 5-7. Rutgers a 2-10 team, a Maryland team that only won 3 games. They just don't have a lot of good competition here on the schedule, and they really struggled at the beginning of the year with some really lesser-than teams. But they are a good coach team. B.J. Fleck, they got a 1,000-yard receiver. They got a 1,000-yard rusher. They've got a great quarterback back there that's one of the most accurate in the country as far as his passing efficiency. So Auburn's got to show up. We saw against Central Florida a team a few years ago that played it like it was their Super Bowl. This is the first time Minnesota's ever been in the Outback Bowl, so it's a first for their program. They know it's important. Auburn, I think, though, has a different mentality.
Well, I just mentioned strength of schedule, Auburn 2, Minnesota 98. But if you just throw that out, the offenses and the defenses match up almost perfectly.
Look at the numbers.
For these two teams. You look at Auburn's side of the ball, 421 yards per game offensively, which is 52nd in the country, number 4 in the SEC. 426 total yards per game for Minnesota, which is slightly better than Auburn. Defensive numbers. Minnesota, 312 total yards per game given up. That's 15th in the country, 5th in their conference. Auburn, 323 total yards per game given up, 19th in the country, 5. When you look at those two numbers, both of these teams do play pretty well on both sides of the ball, but I think their strength for both of these teams are the defensive side of the ball.
No doubt about it. Again, that to me is a little deceiving. You can't argue with numbers. Against their competition, they ranked 15th nationally. Against Auburn's competition, they ranked 19th. But that competition, the teams that Auburn play, the Floridas, the Georgias, the Alabamas, the Oregons, those type teams, it's night and day. It's apples to oranges. Up against our final break of the show. Stay tuned. More of the Auburn Blitz right after this.
Find everything you need for the perfect outdoor living space at Russell Do-It Center, like the Fire Rock Outdoor Conventional Fireplace, smartly designed masonry systems that are easy to install and are less than half the cost of a scratch-built brick and mortar fireplace. Weber Grills, the best outdoor gas, electric, and charcoal grills, which always come pre-assembled. Yeti Coolers, premium coolers and accessories that are the ultimate in design, performance, and durability. Russell Do-It Center, experience and knowledge from the pros.
The interstate is backed up this morning due to an accident.
So you don't like sitting still on the interstate? Get the free Algo traffic app. With Algo, you'll have the information you need to avoid problems on your route to work, to home, to the beach. Traffic backups, wrecks, lane closures, all with current info and live traffic camera feeds. Know before you go with Algo Traffic, ALGO Traffic from the Alabama Department of Transportation. Get it today and arrive on time.
Growing your business isn't just one thing, it's a million little things. Should you lease, rent, or own? How fast can you get that part? Does it fit the budget? That's what your local Cat dealer is here for. With expert advice, flexible financing, and industry-leading equipment, you can get the job done, day after day. Visit ThompsonCat.com, your compact equipment provider.
Lex Wedgeworth has been the most trusted pest control for generations, and now with EnviroCare, you can expect the same high standards for all your pest control needs. EnviroCare's exclusive Centricon termite colony elimination system provides the industry standard to protect your home or business. EnviroCare's Centricon system protects your home year-round. Call the professionals at EnviroCare throughout East Central Alabama for a free estimate. Nobody cares like EnviroCare, the next generation of full pest control for your home or business.
WOTM, your new home for high school sports in Alabama. WOTM has you covered with live coverage of all 7 championship games of the Super 7. WOTM is available to all TV providers in Alabama. If WOTM is not currently a part of your channel lineup, call your provider and request that they add WOTM. WOTM, your exclusive TV home for the AHSAA Super 7 basketball, baseball, and softball championships. All live only on WOTM.
Hey Realtors, do you know about LMG Ad Agency? We build your brand and help sell your properties or a unique lifestyle so you can focus on your clients. We focus on professional photos, videos, aerial photography and videography, and commercial real estate. We'd love to tell your story. Contact us today at 256-392-4250 or visit our website at lmgadagency.com.
Mortgage Pro is the new standard for mortgage loans. While other banks are taking 45 to 60 days to close a loan, Mortgage Pro is making it happen in less than 15 days. Your mortgage loan goes from start to finish in less than 15 days. Mortgage Pro is able to make this happen by having the most advanced technology and a highly trained staff with over 98 years combined experience. If you're looking to buy a home or refinance your current mortgage, call Mortgage Pro and let our team go to work for you.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Auburn Blitz final segment of the program. Just an update: Virginia Tech still ahead of Kentucky, 17-14 there in the third quarter of the Belt Bowl. Auburn, Minnesota, this time tomorrow. Obviously, no show for us tomorrow on New Year's Day. All of you out there will be watching Auburn play Minnesota, just like we will be. So no show tomorrow. But why Auburn wins and why Auburn possibly could lose this game? Randy?
Well, I'll start off. Why Auburn wins.
According to Stat Tiger, which is a great reference that we go to, by the way.
Yeah, you know, here's the thing. From a talent standpoint, this Auburn defense and offense, in comparison to what you're going to see on the field from Minnesota, is just night and day.
It is.
Especially on the offensive side of the ball. So the average offensive ranking for Auburn players, 585. And they'll go up against an average ranking for Minnesota of 1,011.
Good Lord.
So, you know, you're double. You got the player talent's twice as good at Auburn on the offensive side of the ball, and that should be able to play that way. You know, here's where this can narrow in. If you go to how Auburn could lose the football game, get out-coached. I think P.J. Fleck is one of those coaches that if you give him this amount of time, we'll see. He's kind of a newcomer to me,
he's good.
But he's starting to prove to people that he's one of the best coaches. Got a little Chris Peterson-esque to him. I think, and we'll see how he ends up against a very talented Auburn.
You know they'll have some razzle-dazzle stuff. He knows that. He knows there's a talent gap there, so you got to do some things. I'll go back to the 2009 Auburn-Alabama game. You know, Auburn led the game the whole time until the very end. Auburn had to do some crazy things to get the lead. They did. Unfortunately, time didn't run out fast enough. and they lost the game. So when you go in as a good coach like P.J. Fleck is, and you know what you're going up against, and the Derek Brown and some of the guys that they're going to have to block, they're going to have to do some things unorthodox to try to close the gap there.
Here's another one is Auburn has really found a way to get behind the line of scrimmage and make plays behind the line on the defensive side of the ball, and that's key here in this ball game is how does our defensive front, those ends, linebackers and blitz packages, how do they play? And here's the numbers. Tigers have the edge up front and are ranked number 17 in tackles for loss this season. They'll face a Golden Gophers team that is number 66 in tackles for loss. That doesn't deem well against Auburn. No. If you can't get in the backfield and make plays against Bo Nix and make plays against this running game for Auburn behind the line of scrimmage, and we stay ahead of the chains, like our chances, even with a freshman quarterback that's now pretty much of age and a sophomore back there. But Auburn, can we get back there and cause some disruption in the backfield against Minnesota will be a key.
Well, Patrick says simply Auburn will win because of number 3 and number 5. So he thinks they will. I think they will. I think a lot of people feel like if you look at what Derek Brown and Marlon Davidson did against some of the better offensive lines in the country this year already, they feel pretty good about their chances against this Minnesota team.
You know, looking down and ways that Auburn can lose, I'll let you kick it over to you.
Yeah.
Which one is the one glaring part of this ball? I know you got a lot of confidence going in, but what's one part of the ball game that you worry about?
Well, getting out there and not playing up to potential. And I don't think that'll happen this game, but I got burnt 2 years ago, and I'll admit it. I felt like Auburn would go into that Peach Bowl playing in a New Year's Six game, and they would want to be there, and they didn't want to be there. They clearly did not want to be there. They played like it. They came out of the tunnel like it. Central Florida played like it was the biggest game in their program's history, and it was at the time. And so when you equal those two things out, or you match those two things up against one another, it was bad for Auburn. So I don't think that'll be the case against this team tomorrow.
You know, I worry, can they make us one-dimensional? And what I mean by that is if they can stop the run and make us throw the football, we have had games this year where when that's been the case, we've really struggled. And here's a stat from Stat Tiger. Auburn's pass offense against ranked opponents needs improvement. You know, you think the Tigers have completed only 49% of their throws for a mediocre 5.1 yards per attempt. Auburn averaged only 167 yards passing against the 6 ranked opponents they have faced this season. So, can they stop the run? If they can't stop the run and they force us to throw the football, can we do it? We had a little bit better. I thought we got better at that as the season progressed. I know we got a freshman quarterback, but that is a stat that worries you a little bit.
Yeah, it is. Also, another one that Patrick said he's worried about their wide receivers. They do have some good wide receivers. They have a great quarterback. So if they have time to throw the ball, could pose a problem for Auburn. So, those are a couple things that you look at. You look at another one that Auburn has faced 6 ranked opponents this season, averaging 320 yards and 25 points per game on offense versus those teams. I'm seeing some predictions coming in. Andy's already thrown his at us, 41-20. Auburn over Minnesota. Patrick's got Auburn 45-17. I think that's something very similar to what Brad had in there. I think you and I both felt like the score would be kind of in that range, not giving up maybe more than 17 points. But Stephen comes back with 38-17 there. There's some predictions from some of you out there watching on Facebook. If Auburn gets held to 25 points tomorrow, in trouble. I mean, I'm just going to put it. It's going to be down to the wire. Because I think our defense is going to keep us in the game, and I don't think they'll allow probably more than 21 points in this game. But if we're struggling, like you said, and we're one-dimensional, and we make some mistakes, and we do turn the football over some, and we get this thing, and Minnesota gets this thing into the late in the third, fourth quarter, it's just going to be whoever plays well at that point.
Well, and let's don't kid ourselves either. We have not played well against good opponents away from home. Since 2014, we're 4-10 against top 20 opponents away from Jordan-Hare Stadium. That's
a real stat.
That's a Gus Malzahn stat that must change.
You're right.
For him to take the next step and us getting to this 10-win plateau and hopefully again next year building on what we do this year and getting to 10 wins, that's a step. That's a positive step for Gus Malzahn. but starting to play better on the road against good opponents. This is an 18th ranked Minnesota team that's won 10 football games. They're deserving to be there. And we've had matchups in the past against northern teams, i.e. Wisconsin, where we thought from an athleticism standpoint we would own the line of scrimmage and win the football game, and it never worked out.
And this is a big offensive line for Minnesota.
So
by the way.
It's
a challenge.
One of those I'm worried about a little bit on how we play early on. I'm just hoping that we show up like we did in the bowl game last year, ready to play.
Yeah, and another real quick point, Gus Malzahn's won two bowl games at Auburn, the Birmingham Bowl and the Music City Bowl. Not two really high-profile games. This will be the first, if he wins this one, the first high-profile bowl game. He's already played in one Outback Bowl against that Wisconsin team. We lost in overtime, but he needs to get one of those under his belt as well. But that's going to wrap it up here for the New Year's Eve edition of the Auburn Blitz. Again, we want to thank all of you for all the support this year. We couldn't do it without you. We couldn't do it without Russell Do It Center and Building Supply Stores and Mortgage Pro there at McKinley team. And we look forward to carrying this on into the year 2020. And again, we appreciate all of you out there. Have a safe and wonderful New Year's Eve and a happy new year to all of you out there moving forward. For Randy Lee, I'm Brett Pritchard saying we've enjoyed it. We hope you have. See you next year.